Hi, here's a list of objections or maybe even just reactions people have when they see some of their quote best customers at the bottom of their profit ranking reports. Um, First of all, people sort of think, oh my gosh, the sales force, that's universal statement there, sales force will freak out because, gee, we're paying them commissions and the accounts are losing money, and they're going to be instantly afraid that somehow they're going to take a big economic hit. And if they freak out, then maybe they'll leave, and if they leave, they'll take their business with them. These are all 1970 concepts in a general sense. And notice that when we have these kinds of belief statements that they're generalized, like all the salespeople are going to freak out, or that all the salespeople matter. It turns out in a customer profitability viewpoint, about 20% of your territories actually make great money, and 50-80% of them are break even or even lose money. And you may actually have a lot of what have evolved to be small order, small customer sales reps who have great margin percent, but the cost to serve on all these customers exceeds the margin dollars, so the whole territory is underwater. And frankly, these sales reps and how they're selling have become obsolete. And there's no problem if you took your sales force and said, let's put them in three piles, aces, not aces, and I'm not sure in the middle, that you can take care of your best reps. Economically, you can guarantee no downside risk, only upside. You can do that if you want to. So the way to solve the sales rep problem is to not think in generalized, awfulized, sensationalized terms, but let's sort the sales territories based on real information into different piles and solve each pile with the appropriate solution. Second thing is, gee, we can't go out to a customer who's giving us all this business and say, hey, you know what, you need to change how you're buying from us. That's an insult. They might, leave. As opposed to, well, wait a minute. Because of the law of reciprocal costs, maybe they unknowingly, and there's no bad guy here, this relationship just grew up. We're both guilty of being in it. But maybe unwittingly we grew up buying in a way that not only is killing us, but in some hidden cost supply chain way is killing them. And there is a better way to do business, which will actually focus on 30% hidden waste, which we can split, as opposed to beating each other up about 1 or 2% on the price. So it turns out that there are plenty of ways to do that, and we'll be looking at case studies later on in this playlist. The next assumption is, oh my gosh, they'll leave, and if anybody leaves, that immediately hurts our bottom line because the assumption is all of our costs are fixed. And in a sense, you're right. Right now, in this moment, if you don't change anything about your payroll and your operations and so forth, costs are pretty much fixed. But that's a static view. If a losing customer does not call up on the phone and give you a losing order, which tomorrow they say they got shipped short and they've got a problem and they want to cancel and they want to be a slow pay kind of guy, would your employees presumably be able to do something proactively, else? In other words, do you have an aggressive list of managed by objectives and everybody's supposed to be working on living edge proactive stuff and they're just saying, gosh, I don't have the time? Well, maybe if we freed up a little time, that energy could naturally flow to higher value added, more productive opportunities. And certainly, we'll look at math later on to show that most of the costs are quite variable. And if you took an aggressive policy towards lots of small customers where their math is less than your service model cost, so you're just going to structurally lose money on them all the time, if you drove them all away, just fired them all, you could actually lay off more operational expense. That's laying off trucks and drivers and warehouse people and inside salespeople, primarily in the order fulfillment capacity. You could lay off more operational expense than you would actually lose in margin dollars. You'd actually make more money. I'm not advocating, that hardball approach. Some companies may be where they have no choice but to do that from a turnaround viewpoint. But at any rate, this is fallacious, that all your costs are fixed. Distribution is quite a variable cost business. Another assumption is all accounts and volume are good because every margin dollar helps to cover a fixed cost, and then some flows to the bottom line, economies of scale, which don't exist in your business. And you can go out and you can look at all the dust collectors in your warehouse and say, I have a feeling that by taking on these incremental suppliers and these incremental dust collecting SKUs, this did not increase the economics of my business. You can listen at the inside sales, you can talk to inside salespeople, you can talk to counter people and say, who are people that come in here on a regular basis and are just a total pain in the ass, and they generate all this activity and cost, and they don't give us but 25 cents worth of stuff. And they'll say, oh, well, then they'll name a few people, and you have to know intuitively that those are losers all the time. Another big thing is when we see the report saying this guy's a big loser, we'll go, well, that is just not the case, and I am going to nitpick the cost to serve model. And if I can find anything wrong, in other words, if I can prove that it's not absolutely a perfect cost to serve model, therefore we throw it out. Of course, the assumption is if we throw it out, we're going to go back to the current financial management model, where all we know is margin percent, and we just pretend cost to serve doesn't even exist. That's a far cruder, less perfect model. And the truth of the matter is the financial model is not that accurate, because at the end of the year, talk to your accountants and your CFO about how much write-up mystery happens at the end of the year, because we don't keep real-time track of our rebates, we don't keep real-time track of our inventory evaluation up and down because of inflation, the product line, and accounting practices. The write-ups at the end of the year can be huge or down. So it's the financial model is massively more crude by magnitudes than looking at a line item profit analytical cost to serve model. And here's the biggest problem of all, which is the people who generally make the customer profitability ranking report models tend to be people that are in the accounting finance area, and they go and they say, hey, here's the biggest loser, and so we got to do something about it. They don't know what to do about it. They don't necessarily have enough on the ground customer information. They don't know the products that the customer's buying that well, and so they really can't explain, sell, carry the day as far as overcoming the traditional belief system that allows all these generalized objections up here to exist. So that's hopefully I'm going to put a big dent anyway in the conceive, believe steps of why we can't move past customer profitability ranking reports. Thank you.